Hello and welcome to another episode of God and Gig Show. Coming definitely in a different way. I'm doing this from my gig over here in South Florida. Beautiful day. And I said, you know what? Instead of trying to go to my studio and try to record this, let me just do this where things actually happen. Those of you who are in the creative life, musician life, whatever it is, you know what it's like to have to run to gigs, to get dressed, to get set up, to find a venue, get parking, all that stuff. Well, that's been my weekend. So I wanted to give you a little story that happened that just gives you a little lesson in diligence and being professional and how it can cost you if you're not doing the things that you're supposed to do. So this is what really happened. This is my story and I'm sticking to it. Basically, about 2 weeks ago, I got a call, a referral, a recommendation from someone to give a call to someone who was bringing in a band to Miami. Needed a keyboard player. And these, recommendations are gold because this gentleman said, hey, this person is looking for a musician. They're well connected. And so I said, yeah, number one, recommendations again are super, super important for me to honor that. And so I did give this person a call back and they said, yes, here's the musical director. He'll be reaching out. And so I did reach out to that musical director this one time. Now, after that, I thought I didn't hear anything, so I kind of put it under the radar. I said, oh, well, he'll reach out whenever. I didn't hear anything for a couple of days, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. I thought this gig was right away. Thought I was on the hot list. Maybe I'm not. So basically, I get a panicked call on Monday. Remember, Thursday was when I reached out, saying, hey, this MD's been reaching back out to you. You haven't responded. Like, you're making me look bad, essentially, right? And I looked in, oh my gosh, there were 2 voicemails on my app, which I had the number I'd given him, which was to my Google Voice number, and I hadn't checked the voicemails on that Google Voice number. Yep, there were 2 calls that I had not responded to, and this was a bad look. Because here I am saying I wanted the gig, but then I didn't call the MD back, and he's thinking the person that recommended me is giving me someone who's flighty, who doesn't respond. And so now it's looking bad for me and for the person that recommended me. So I didn't like that at all. Called back, texted back, but sure enough, the guy had to move on, tried to get somebody else, and probably book someone else right away. So that usually would be the end of the story, a story of where I didn't follow through and where I lost out on a potential opportunity and more importantly, damage my reputation. But God gave me a second chance for this one. And let me tell you how He really turned it around. This normally does not happen. So one day before the actual gig, I had not filled in those dates. Somebody called me and said, hey, I've got a gig I cannot do such and such and such. Can you sub for this? It's 3 dates. And as he's talking, I'm like, I can't believe this. This is the same gig that I missed out on. And now I'm being offered it back as a sub to take over a gig that I should have probably had I responded in the first place. Sure enough, called the number right away this time. Connect with him, and yes, that was the same gig, and I ended up playing on the gig that I lost because of my unresponsiveness. What's the lesson here? Well, simple. Professionalism. The simple things that we think that aren't important are super important when it comes to creative lifestyle, gigging, whatever it is, opportunities. Just being a good Christian and good professional means you call people back, you respond, you check the messages, and here's the big thing I learned. Don't make your systems more complicated than you're actually going to use. If I had just given this person a simple number that I know I would have answered, I wouldn't have had a problem, but my business phone, which I had a system to set up, was not on my radar of checking my voicemail, which was a poor choice. Of course I should check my voicemails, but I hadn't that couple of days, and it nearly cost me. So make sure you're using systems, make sure you're developing a habit of getting back to people, being responsible, because your name and your reputation is everything. And I could have lost mine over a simple problem of not being faithful and diligent with checking things like email, voicemail, text, and responding. The Bible says it like this. Jesus said, let your yes be yes and your no be no. Well, my yes was not yes and my no was not no because I didn't say anything. It was silence. And that's not a good way for you to conduct business nor to treat people. So learn from my mistake. Make sure that you're always following through with your messages, following through with connecting with people. Most importantly, just treating people with respect. Because whether they are in music, art, film, dance, drama, creative arts, entrepreneurship, whatever, we all want to know that we're being treated fairly and that we're being treated with respect when it comes to responding. I'm working on that personally, leading myself, getting better at being a more responsible entrepreneur. And I realize that it's going to help me in the long run. Just doing those simple little things that don't seem like world changers and it's not going to change my business overnight could change my business overnight if I respond to the right call and I am in the habit of doing these types of things, building systems and habits that absolutely build that. Now, in my book, God and Gigs, Succeed as a Musician Without Sacrificing Your Faith, which I'm thinking of renaming and talking about, I'm going to see if 7 habits. I feel like it's the 7 habits of highly effective Christian creatives, but that might be copyrighted, so we're not going to use that just yet. But I like that idea, that this particular habit of respecting the business. This would be the R in SERVICE. That's where I spell out service. This is the 7 service steps that I used to call it. I'm going to change that name, but that's what I think this is about, respecting the business. So if this helped you, please comment, please share, whether you're using this on YouTube, comment. You can send in a text if you're listening on the podcast. Look in the show notes, you'll see a text line where you can send me and tell me, where's a place where you learn the power of professionalism, the power of diligence, of responding, of being faithful with the little things that don't seem important until they are, like I found out. I'd love to hear from you, love to get those responses back. And until next time, continue to become the creative that you were created to be. God bless, and we'll see you next episode.